Jenny, tell us a little bit about you and your experience in marketing and research.
I'm a marketing manager at Ensley and I've got 9 years experience of working in various marketing roles. I use research on a day-to-day basis to help inform my marketing decisions and it also helps with enhancing product design.
Excellent. You've written a guide for students' unions, guilds, associations and councils. Can you tell us what the guide's about?
Yeah, sure. The guide's about market research. It's about the different research techniques that are available and the different results methods that you can use in order to get the information that you want from your research plan.
Okay. So can you tell us what market research actually is?
Yeah, sure. Market research specifically looks at the market that you're in. So it looks at the customers within that market and their needs and wants, looks at their behaviours and the way they act, and gauges supply and demand.
So why would market research be so important to students' unions?
Students' unions are membership organisations. It's important that what you're doing is evidence-led, so it's based on intelligent information. You've got such a diverse base that you're looking at, so it's important that if you research the base, find out what they need and what they want, you can meet their needs.
In your experience, before a students' union undertakes any research, what would you recommend they consider?
Well, the first thing to mention is that research can be very expensive and it also can take an awful lot of time. So you need to be clear on what your objectives are and what it is you're actually conducting the research for. So you need to outline your requirements before you even start looking into research techniques.
And I guess make sure you act on the results of the research as well.
Exactly right, exactly. There's no point doing all this research, spending lots of time and effort and money on conducting it just to make the results look pretty if you're not then going to use it. So it's important that you actually act upon it.
And does spending more on market research mean you'll get better results?
Not necessarily. It's about the detail of the results, so it's the raw data that you get. People are going to conduct research for lots of various different reasons, and it's important that it's specific for their requirements. So you could spend huge amounts of money, or you could use the research that's already in the marketplace right now, which won't cost you anything. So it's important to outline what your objectives are before you start.
Okay. And what's the difference between market research and marketing research?
Well, market research looks at the supply and demand of your market. It looks at your member base needs and wants, or your target audience. Marketing research specifically looks at marketing processes, so it will look at things like if you change the price of an item or you change a service proposition, what effect that will have on sales or your audience. So it looks at marketing rather than the market itself.
Can you explain the different terminology that's used in research?
Yeah, sure. There's 3 main terms that are used. You have market segmentation, market information, and market trends. Market segmentation looks at the way you break your market up. So it's your target audience and the groups you look at specifically within that. So it could be year of study, it could be a gender-related market research technique you're using, it could be age-specific or regionality.
So what's market information?
Market information is the term used when looking at the supply and demand of your offering.
Okay, and what is market trends?
Market trends would be something that you would look at over a period of time. So if you conduct research now and then say conduct it in 6 months' time and then another 6 months' time, you would analyse the results and compare them with each other to identify trends within that research.
And what are the different types of research and how do you decide which one to use?
There's 2 main types of research, primary research and secondary research. With secondary research, it can also be called desk research, and basically it means you can do it from your desk. So it's information and research that other people have conducted and then published to the public domain. So things you could get on Google or things you could get from public libraries, basically information sources that anyone could use. With primary research, that's research conducted by you as an individual for your specific needs and requirements. It's also called field research because you need to go out into the field to get the results. So it's more tailored to your needs, basically.
And would you recommend people start with secondary before they move on to primary research?
It's definitely worthwhile doing. Secondary research is free. It's not as detailed as you may need it to be, so that's one thing you need to look out for.
In your manual, you reference the terms qualitative and quantitative. Can you explain what these 2 terms mean and the difference between them?
Of course. The 2 different terms relate to results methods of research. Quantitative research is numbers-based, so it would be things like asking questionnaires or surveys with tick box answers that you've associated a number to. You can then add this up and compare and contrast results against each other, so it's hard and fast numbers. With qualitative, it's more about feelings. It's more about what a member experiences, what their thoughts are. It's more about the language they use and the context in which they use it. So it's a lot more detailed, and that would be used if you wanted to drill down to get more information, more meaningful information from somebody.
And which would you say is the most reliable method of analysing the results?
They're both fairly reliable, but quantitative sometimes is deemed to be more reliable because it's hard, fast numbers and you can count it up and compare and contrast it.
And presumably bigger sample sizes.
Precisely, yes. So you can go out there quite quickly, speak to a large group of people and get the results back in quite quickly.
Assuming a student union has decided to go ahead with a research activity, where would you recommend they start?
There's a plan that should be followed, a 6-point plan. The first thing that you need to think about are your objectives, so what it is you want from the research. What are you going to do with the information you get when you get it back in? The second thing you need to think about is the research design. So you need to think about what the plan's going to look like, what questions you're going to ask, how you're going to ask them, and in what format. So will it be focus groups, will it be a questionnaire, and the order of questions as well. You then need to collect the data, so you need to find your sample and you need to go out there and get the results that you need. And then you need to analyse it. So when it comes back in, do what you need to with the results, compare and contrast them with each other if that's what's required, or compare them against previous results if you're looking for market trends. You then need to publish the data, so you need to collate it all back in and you need to document it. So you should start with your objectives and whether your objectives have been met, and then you need to look at the uncoverings that it's found. So is anything new happened? Is there anything that you would change as a result of it? And then finally, the 6th point, which is the most important point, is actually act upon this. So don't just conduct it because it's a nice to know. Actually do something with the information that you uncover.
And what are the most common errors in research and how can we avoid them?
There's 4 main errors that can spring to mind. They're interview errors, respondent errors, market design, research design errors, and also sampling errors. Your sampling errors could be that your base is too small, you've not asked enough people, you've maybe asked too many people and it's too diverse a range, so it doesn't signify your audience that you're going at. With your interviewer errors, that could be that the interviewer doesn't understand the question, doesn't understand how important the research is, maybe hands the questionnaires out to family and friends and gets them to populate it rather than asking your specific target audience. Your respondent errors could be that they don't understand the question, they make up the answers, they don't answer it, so they just send it back blank. And then your research design, it could be that maybe you've conducted a focus group, so you've monitored behaviour, when actually a questionnaire would have been more suitable. So they're the things you need to think about before you embark upon conducting any research techniques.
And finally, what are your top tips?
Top tips are to make sure that you have clear objectives that you want to meet. Make sure you really think about the research design and the questions you're asking, how you're asking them, and the methods in which you're using them. Also think about the results method, so whether it's qualitative you're using or quantitative, and also act upon your results. Don't spend ages trying to make them look pretty just because you've got them. Actually make sure you change behaviours because of them.